My name is Magnus Stegdal. I'm the director of NTNU Health, which is the strategic area of health, welfare and technology at NTNU. NTNU Health wants to increase collaboration across disciplines and fields of research towards health-related questions. So we want to, in particular, engage the more technical areas of NTNU into the health field in a better way. I think the biggest tech trend in the health area, and it's probably in every area, is the use of data. And it's been extensively increasing, the use of data in the healthcare area for the last decade, using more and more advanced methods, going into AI and other machine learning techniques. And I think that's kind of it's an enormous area now, and we are seeing great progress, not only in the field of diagnostics and treatment, but also in other related areas like in welfare technology and how, and not the least in how we organize our healthcare services, where we also can use data in a more useful way. If we look at the time frame on how we can make use of data, I think we are in the beginning of using data, and we will see, we already see a lot of applications where we use data from our health records, from other sources of health data. But I think to really get to harvest the value that are in the data, we need more tools to be able to combine data from different sources. So using the healthcare records, which are really good in Norway, and combining them with other data that the people have themselves, or other data regarding people from health surveys, from where they live, and from other sources of data that we have in Norway. I think to really harvest the value, we need to combine these sources, and that is something that we could start doing today, but there are some hurdles that we need to pass. And for me, I'm a bit impatient, because I think we have been talking about data for a decade at least, and the potential that lies within our data, and still there aren't that many things happening. And also we see, if we look around us in the world, we see this is not only a Norwegian trend, it's a global trend. And we see that some countries solve the issues regarding how to use data faster than we do. So I think that we should learn from them what they are doing, and maybe try to apply a few of their principles here as well. And of course there are big companies that also are moving into this field, or are in the middle of this field, that we all know in different areas of our lives, like Google and Apple and all these companies. They are also marching into the health field, and of course they will also provide solutions that we can use, but there might not be the perfect solutions for our healthcare service or for the Norwegian population. So I think, I think that a lot of things will happen within 5 years, I think, within this field, and it will revolutionize the healthcare service, both in how we treat people, but also how we prevent disease and manage disease for people with several diseases. So I think one of the issues with using data is that we as researchers, we want as much data as we can have. And the Norwegian population, they are very eager to sharing their data, and they trust us. And it's important for us to keep that trust, because we would like them to contribute even in the future. So in that respect, it's very important to know that we can handle the data we use in a safe way, so that the data is kept only for the research projects, and that we can't use it, or that third parties can't get access to it, to the data, so that this can be misused. And to making sure that this happens, I think is part of the problem, that we want to be extra sure that the data are safe. And I think that's one of the main hurdles for being successful here, but it's also a main kind of premise for being successful in the future, that the public can be sure that this is done in a good way, I think. And it's important to give the value back to the providers of the data, meaning that we need to implement what we find into something that gives better healthcare services.
My name is Lena Nymo Helli. I am the CEO of Norway Healthtech. So Norway Healthtech is a health cluster. Our mission is to enable and facilitate startups and scale-ups, companies to grow both nationally and internationally, and at the same time bring great solutions for the needs of the healthcare service at all levels. The majority of members are startup and scale-up companies, but we also have corporate organizations, we have public sector, we have patient organizations, we have investors. And the whole idea is to connect these stakeholders together in the ecosystem to really accelerate innovation. Yeah, the latest or the tech development trends that we see now and looking forward is really that we are moving from a healthcare where the healthcare professionals are in the center to a much more patient empowerment system. So the patient will actually be in the center. And we will have much more also predictive analysis, new diagnostic tools, and we will move from treating patients more to prevent sickness. So it will be much more telemedicine, mobile health, virtual consultations, and of course the internet of medical things is also crucial and a great trend. We have patient sensors, we have wearables, we have big data, and I think health data is a key keyword in moving forward. How can we connect the different data that we have, both from the patient, him or herself, but also to the hospital, to the patients who will, to the healthcare professionals to treat the patients. So I think this is kind of the overview of where we are going. And then I think we have a lot of great technology and companies in Norway who are developing tools and solutions within this field. We have many working with artificial intelligence for diagnosing, for monitoring patients, and also for imaging, for instance, within ultrasound or other imaging techniques. And also we have a lot of, I would say, different solutions for the whole ecosystem, not only for treating patients more at home. I mean, patients in the future will be able to take blood samples themselves and just send it in, hopefully via their iPhone or other personal equipment we will have in the future. So I think one thing is the care for the patients and the citizens, to move that closer to where you live. The other part is on the logistics, how to work more efficiently in the healthcare sector. So for instance, we have robots who can disinfect rooms, ambulances, instead of having, resources to have to do this manually. And on top of that, of course, we have a lot of genetic sequencing that can tell us much, much more about, who will be more likely to get different diseases so that we can prevent, and also how to treat in an optimal way. So there is a lot of great technology that we have and solutions that we have in Norway, both within the prevention, diagnosing and treatment of citizens and patients, but also on the more logistic side, how to cope with a new pandemic, how to work more efficiently and make use of the resources. that we have in the healthcare sector. So if we want to have a sustainable society in the future in Norway, we really have to look at where our growth in industry should come from. Traditionally, we are very much dependent on oil and gas, and we need new industries. What is great about health industry is that we can have great income, both nationally but also from export, because these are global challenges with global solutions. And at the same time, we can reduce costs by working more efficiently in our primary and specialty healthcare. So I think there are many reasons for building health industry in Norway, and we have great potential with many companies and increasingly more focus on health, I would say, as well now during the pandemic. I think there are like 3 key challenges for the health industry, startup and scale-up companies, at least to be able to get their innovations into the market. First, there are regulatory processes where they, for instance, need clinical testing. So we need to have clinical testing facilities in Norway that is easily accessible, where they can test their solutions. Then you have to have customers who are willing to pay for your solution in Norway. And in Norway, the majority of customers will be public sector. This means that the public sector in Norway has a huge responsibility as a customer to make sure that this can happen in a timely and agile way. And I also believe if we really say that we will accelerate building health industry in Norway, we have to have a good framework for sharing the risk as well, because there is a high risk through the development phase for new solutions. For instance, if you do the testing and you don't get the results that you aim for, you are set back maybe many years and have to restart. So some more sharing of the risk like we have in the oil and gas industry, I think is needed to build in to really boost the health industry and make sure that we not lose the possibility to use these great solutions in Norway.
My name is Marte Kjerulf Aam. I'm a veterinarian and I'm employed as a researcher in the group Artificial Pancreas Trondheim. And I'm in charge of all the animal experiments that we are doing in our work. The Artificial Pancreas Trondheim is a group from NTNU with researchers from different fields or different backgrounds. And we are developing artificial pancreas for people with type 1 diabetes. Currently, our group consists of 17 people from NTNU, different departments, both at Gløshaugen and Øya, the medical department. An artificial pancreas is a device for automated glucose regulations for people with type 1 diabetes. So when we say artificial pancreas, we just mean one of the functions that the pancreas actually does in our body, and that is the production of insulin and glucagon. Those are 2 hormones vital for regulating glucose, in our bodies. So that's the function that we are mimicking with our device. So when saying artificial pancreas, it's just one of the functions that organ does. Well, an artificial pancreas it has 3 main components. It's a glucose sensor, it's a controller, and a hormone pump. So the glucose sensor, normally or most patients have this now in their subcutaneous tissue, and that monitors the glucose levels in the body. The controller, we imagine it could be on your smartphone, so that could be something you could keep in your pocket. And you need a hormone pump. In our device, that has 2 reservoirs with insulin and glucagon, and there will be tubes going from this pump into the body that will deliver those hormones at need. So that would also fit in your pocket. So those are the 3 components of the simplest way of the system. Well, the tubes will be attached to your body. They will go, in our case, into the abdomen. We are looking to create an interperitoneal device. So the hormones will be delivered in the abdomen. So that means that the tubes will have to go inside And that means that the pumps also need to be attached to the body. So yes, it's something that you would need to wear. And also the glucose sensors is something you would have to wear. Many patients are already using a glucose sensor and also an insulin pump that gives insulin in the subcutaneous tissue. So in many ways, the system isn't very much different, but we believe that the current systems, they're not fast enough. We need something that will react faster. Otherwise, we cannot achieve the glucose regulations that we actually want to achieve. And that is why we are looking into giving insulin and glucagon inside the abdomen, because the absorption is so much faster there. And it's more similar to the normal physiology. So our system is a little bit more invasive that people are using today. But we think that it will weigh up because the regulation that we're able to achieve is much better. So yes, it is more invasive, but it is better, and that's why we think that patients would choose to wear this, even though we have to put these tubes inside the abdomen of the patient. Well, diabetes is a lifelong disease, so we are not treating the disease. Unfortunately, that is not possible. So what we are doing is managing the disease, because now every person with diabetes, it's controlling its own blood sugar levels all the time. They always need to consider how their blood sugar levels, how they are, what they're going to eat, if they're going to exercise, how they slept, if they're stressed. So actually what we are doing, we're creating a controller that would take away that burden from the patient, so the patient doesn't longer need to control their own blood sugar levels. We need to finish our animal experiments first. We have tested it in anesthetized pigs, as I've said, and we're moving now to conscious pigs. And we need to perform well in those experiments. And moving from animal trials to human trials is a big transition. So a lot of work needs to be put into that. So I would think that within the next year, when we know how our device works for long-term trials on animals, then we would know where and when and how to proceed to human trials. Since our system is interperitoneal, we need a way of getting these tubes inside the abdomen. So you would need an abdominal port, which is available. Roche, they are producing Diaport. And the patients using this port is often patients who are really they have great challenges in regulating their blood sugar levels, and they see that giving it interperitoneally, it makes it easier for them, or they have allergies, so they cannot give it subcutaneously. So in Artificial Pancreas Trondheim, we also have a sub-project called Listening to the Patient, where we try to detect a meal by actually listening to the intestines and the stomach, which is important so we can detect that the person is eating. So we have done a study where we actually can detect a meal very soon, minutes after you started eating. So it is exciting, and hopefully that will help in one of the great challenges, because meals is a great challenge. And the current systems, the artificial pancreas systems that now are available to patients, they don't work because they cannot detect this. So when they call it an artificial pancreas, it isn't really, because the patient needs to interact substantially with the system in order to make it work. And it is complicated, and the studies have shown that many people, they just stop using this because it is too complicated and there are too many alarms and they have to be on it all the time. Where we hope that we can create something that will function automatically, so patients don't have to consider this, it will go automatically. Imagine running for the bus. I mean, I would be super happy if I reached the bus. I could sit down and be happy. I don't have to think, how would that affect my blood sugar levels? Do I have to eat something now? Or it's something that we don't consider, but they have to consider like all the time. Some people are able to do this quite well, but many are not. And sort of those are our goal, I guess, the people that we want to create this device for.
So I'm Tomo Thomsen. I'm the CEO of Simon Medical. So Simon Medical is an ultrasound company developing a unique Doppler ultrasound technology that was originally developed at the Technical University in Trondheim, Norway. The technology was invented back in 2016, and the project was managed by the Tech Trans office at NTNU from 2016 until late 2019, when a decision was made to establish a company instead of licensing the technology. So we established Simon Medical in the summer of 2019. So the company is approaching 2 years. So the essence of what we are doing in Simon is that we are turning Doppler ultrasound into a monitoring technology. So our first product is NeoDoppler, aiming at monitoring blood flow in preterm and critically sick infants. And we know that being preterm comes with a high risk of brain damage due to instability in blood supply to the brain. So by monitoring continuously, we can provide information for the clinician in charge to make the right decisions or right interventions at the right time. The core of the innovation behind Simon is really a single element wide beam Doppler ultrasound transducer that allows monitoring of blood flow in an area under the probe, compared to conventional Doppler, where you have a focus beam and you need an expert ultrasound operator to focus on the area of interest. So this type of technology allows monitoring continuously for hours or even days. So I think some of the beauty of the technology we are commercializing is the scalability, meaning that the core technology can be applied for many different clinical applications, but it can also be set up in different formats or different setups, if you will, either targeting an advanced intensive care hospital unit, or more as a personalized tool for a healthcare worker, maybe in a low middle income country. So it really has scalability along many multiple dimensions, or many different dimensions. Yeah. So the NeoDoppler equipment it has a small footprint. So it's a 10-inch screen. There's an ultrasound scanner the size of a smartphone, and the probe itself is a centimeter in diameter, so a small coin. So it has a small footprint. So Simon Medical is building on the shoulders of the NeoDoppler research project that has been managed from the TTO since 2016. And the huge advantage with that is that we already have working prototypes, we have clinical studies that are fully financed, and we have a patent portfolio that we can build on. Trondheim definitely has an international reputation in the ultrasound field. It's known for being in the forefront of ultrasound technology, but I think also what is quite unique is sort of the practical implications or practical applications of the technology. And I think Simon is a good example of that, very close interaction between the researchers in the ultrasound group and clinicians, understanding the possibilities and limitations with the technology to find the right clinical applications. So what we need now to continue to develop Simon is to, continue building the team. So we need to recruit the right talent, and to further develop the collaboration we have with our clinical partners to really be able to document the clinical benefits and other claims that we want to attach to our products, right? I mean, the biggest roadblock for us was that we started our financing round in the autumn of 2019 with the goal of raising 25 million NOK by first quarter of 20. And then we ran really into the Corona panic. So we had to do an emergency capital raise. We emptied our pockets and invested. So I invested my money, the chairman invested his money, the inventor invested his money, and then a few others also chipped in a little bit. So we survived, made a plan for how to get through 2020 with those money. And then we started over again in the effort of raising capital, and we were successful in raising 60 million. So, but we had to really go all in. Yeah. To really be successful for Simon, it's very specific to our product, right? And everything we do that is not really focused on bringing NeoDoppler to the market as quickly as possible is a distraction. So it may sound anti-collaborative, but it's there. I mean, we raised 6 million euros. We've made a commitment to bring NeoDoppler to market, and everything we do needs to be about that. And whatever we do that is not bringing us closer to that goal is not spending the money right.
I'm Armin Hote. I'm co-founder and CEO of ClexBio. ClexBio's main mission is to develop patient-specific blood vessel for clinical transplantation. In addition to that, we'll make in vitro models for drug development in the pharma industry. So ClexBio was established in 2020, but the history goes further back. In 2012, I did my PhD in tissue engineering, working with encapsulation of stem cells. But to my frustration, the development, the work we did at NTNU in Trondheim didn't allow us to make cell-friendly materials in a way that then allowed us to make tissues. I ended up traveling to Harvard to learn from the best, yet their methods were also falling short. I was either killing the cells in the lab or basically destroying the devices, which we call microfluidic devices or microfluidic chips. Altogether, it led us to invent a new technology called Klex. With Klex, we're now able to encapsulate individual cells, and in doing so, we allowed ourselves to then make tissues. The technology we use at ClexBio can be boiled down to 3 categories. We have the living, which are the human cells that we use to make the tissues. In case of blood vessels, these are smooth muscle cells and endothelial cells. The second is the biomaterial, the material that the cells will live inside. The biomaterial that we use is called Klex. It's our proprietary technology that really mimics the natural material that cells live within inside our body. And the third one is the instruments. We use microfluidic chips, which are channels that are at the size of a human hair. In addition to microfluidic channels or chips, we also use 3D bioprinting hardware, which are practically 3D printing setups that we, instead of injecting plastic, we inject human cells with our biomaterial to make tissues.
I'm Manuel Schweikle, CSO and co-founder of ClexBio. Tissue engineering really is about depositing cells in a biomaterial that serves as a starting point for them to form a functional biological tissue. And we're really living in super exciting times in terms of tissue engineering. We are at the brink of a technological revolution with a lot of emerging technologies that enable what formerly was unthinkable. Yet, there is one central challenge that remains, and that is depositing cells in a very cell-friendly way with high resolution. Why is this important? Well, first of all, structurally, you need to be able to bring cells in very close proximity so that they can interact and communicate with each other as they would in a real biological tissue. And then secondly, this is very important in order to supply the cells with the nutrients like oxygen that they require to survive. Klex was developed to overcome exactly this challenge. It allows the formation of intricate microstructures containing living cells without compromising the cell friendliness. So with our current technology, we commonly produce microstructures on the size of around 50 micrometers and smaller.
My name is Silje Ulen Maurseth. I'm business development lead in ClexBio, and I started here in February 2021.
Compared to existing solutions, Klex enables us to have up to 10 times more living viable cells in the constructs that we build. And beyond that, we can print or engineer tissue structures with up to 100 times higher resolution than other cell-friendly methods that exist. And most importantly, Klex isn't limited to one single approach. It is very compatible with all the standard and emerging technologies within tissue engineering, which really allows us to use all the best tools that are out there and coming.
On another aspect, we have a sustainable approach using algae-based raw materials. And if successful in making organ models, our approach will make animal testing in drug development redundant. So vasculature replacement and repair is one of the most commonly performed surgeries in the Western world, and in many of them you need an organ transplantation. However, we see that readily available organs, they aren't yet available, they don't exist yet. And it has been estimated that 35% of US deaths could have been prevented if they had done organ transplant. Beyond this, there is a huge need for better tools to predict drug function in humans early on, to do drug development in a better way. And currently, drug development is costly, lengthy, and risky.
This is in part due to the fact that there are no good models to predict the function of a drug in the human body. Animal models fall short in accurately representing the human organism, and on top of that are not ethical. The engineered tissues that we're building can very well replace these models and offer a way to bring drugs to the market faster, cheaper, and more safely.
We're a very global thinking company, and as such, we've been trying to really expand our network beyond the Norwegian border. For us, this has been important to tackle two main challenges. The first one has been securing funding to continue our R&D development and then also commercializing our solutions. The second has been finding the right talents and kind of recruiting the right talents to fuel our growth. We've been very fortunate to have signed with amazing business angels across the world, which are global leaders, but also thought leaders in the space of pharma, medtech, and healthcare. And beyond that, we've been very fortunate to have Silja and Mia joining us in our company recently, working in business development and tissue engineering respectively. And then we have 2 more members joining in June and August as well to really fuel further growth in our R&D development.
So we do need to strengthen the biotech ecosystem in Norway. And one thing is the investment ecosystem. We do have some really good investors in Norway, but to build even more deep tech startups, we need more investments and more investors with experience and expertise in biotech and deep tech. We also need to strengthen the ecosystem in regards to talent. We have many talents in Norway in deep tech, but we see that many of them, they move abroad to more exciting opportunities. And we also need to make it easier to attract talent to Norway. With more companies and more investments in deep tech, we believe that it will be easier to attract more talent and also more investments to our companies. The good thing about Norway is that we are all in this together. We are a small community, but it's growing. And we have a lot of expertise and knowledge in this field. We just all need to be part of this dugnad to support each other and help each other to strengthen the ecosystem of deep tech.
My name is Andrés Soler. I am a PhD candidate at the Department of Engineering Cybernetics at NTNU. I work in the Flex EEG project. The main concept behind the Flex EEG is a wearable system that can be easily attached to the head, and then we will involve the signal analysis capabilities to our system, in which we be able to perform different tasks or different analysis according to what is the interest of what is the brain activity in which we are focused.
I'm Erwin Schad. I'm doing my PhD at Cybernetics Department in NTNU. I'm working on the hardware part. I designed the application, like amplifier, electrode, and receiver, and wireless applications. So I'm working on that part, but in my PhD I'm specifically working on amplifier design to solve the challenges in that part. Flex EEG can be used for diagnosis, treatment, entertainment, and many other applications. So we can have like online doctors all the time because you can easily set up the Flex EEG and scan your brain and get all the information from your brain. So it can be used to detect disease, to diagnose disease, and to treatment, and even like drug deliveries. We have those things. So in the near future we should be waiting for a revolution in this field, because you can, by Flex EEG, you can easily scan your brain and find the necessary information and analyze them because of the IoT stuff and cloud processing. So you can easily, and the existence of 5G internet. So you can easily get the information, send the information to clouds and process them there and get back the information. So it might be super exciting to see how it works, and it can be used in many different applications. So I believe that in the near future, instead of just using your touch ID, you can use your brain signal ID.
The Flex EEG is important because it can be applied in different applications, helping to speed up research, speed up patient monitoring, speed up also brain-computer interface setup. So then it can help a lot to different areas, and I think it will have a very huge impact in these fields.
There are many challenges in our field. One challenge is related to hardware part, which I'm working on that, because we want to scan the brain, so the headset electrode will move on our head to easily capture brain signals. But when it is moving, because of the friction and interaction between electrode and hair and skin, it's hard to simultaneously record brain signals as it moves. So this is one challenge that we have, and we are going to use, we call it dry electrodes. So it's another problem. The quality of the signal is not still comparable with wet electrodes, but we are trying to reduce the time needed to put on the mask or put on the headset and make it more accessible for people. So in the near future, we should expect that people can just buy it or make it by 3D printer and put them on easily. So this is the future that we expect. Still now, the price is somehow high, but in comparison with MRI systems and other techniques, it's much cheaper. So we still consider EEG system applications the cheapest way to do the signal analysis and this stuff of the brain. But it's another challenge because we want to have it for all people, so it should be much cheaper. And still there are lots of challenges to design the amplifier and get a good and clear signal from the brain, because the amplitude of the signal is too low, so it's hard to get that accurate signal and get all the information that is needed. The biggest problem is related to ethical concerns, because if we can record brain signals and we can stimulate brain, then we might expect in the near future we have human robots. We can control them completely. So ethics concern is more serious in my opinion, and it should be solved as fast as possible, because there are thousands of engineers working all around the world on neural signal applications, and the improvement is fascinating. But the ethical concerns is still here, and we should do something about that. Undoubtedly, we need funding to continue this project because we need more people and more collaboration to do this project. So funding is one part, and find more collaboration with hospitals. We need collaboration with hospitals because at the end, who are going to use these applications might be doctors, and they need to prove that this system is working properly, and they should understand how it works